Bernard and Doris, 2006. This is a true story or true-ish story. It's about a butler and a wealthy woman. So the film starts with Doris Duke, who's played by Susan Sarandon, sacking a butler and looking for a replacement. And this first encounter with how she is, it feels like she's quite obnoxious. You know, she wants I think it's watermelon, and it comes the wrong temperature, and it's not warm enough or something. So she complains to the butler, Peter Asher, that it just won't do. So he says he'll get a replacement. And she says, "What are you going to do with this one?" And he says, "I don't know, throw it out." And at that point, she summarily sacks him on the spot. "You're fired." That's that. You see him just standing there contemplating the fact that he's just lost his job because melon was the wrong temperature when served. And that is her exacting standards, and she's a bit obnoxious in that way. But when it comes to Bernard Lafferty, played by Ralph Fiennes, he is more compliant. He knows exactly how to keep on her good side. He's really good at it. He's got the right balance of being polite, deferential. He's, I know people who would like to say, "Oh, someone's subservient," but to some extent, erring on the side of that makes sense in this kind of environment because Doris Duke is the boss, and her say-so is gospel as such. She has, there isn't an HR, it's just the relationship between the butler and Doris, Baroness Duke or Lady Duke, I don't know, can't remember. There's some clips of the start where it sort of explains how she gets her wealth, and it's been left to her. She's inherited an enormous amount of money from her father, and it's sort of newspaper headlines. And we just see her, I think it's probably this 80s, I would say, when there's mention of George Bush, the president, so probably quite late into the 80s, sort of 1989 by the time he became president. He got voted in November 1988. So there's quite a lot of... So Bernard, it becomes quite clear. It's almost like there's a spell cast between him and Doris. They really strike it together because, she's dismissive of him at the start, but then gradually accepts his trust. He's much more trustworthy than the previous butler, and so she's comfortable with him, and then she starts trusting him an awful lot, really a huge amount, and it's kind of lovely to see. It's almost like a relationship in some ways, and yet it becomes clear that Bernard is gay. He's part of the LGBTQIA plus community. In fact, we see it at certain points. Doris actually encourages him towards cross-dressing, towards, for a start, piercing his ears and then wearing makeup and then wearing dresses at the end, sort of, which shocks one of the other staff, Doris, who's long-term staff. Not Doris, the can't remember her name, but one of the maids in the film, Nancy, I think. So Bernard reveals he's gay to Doris when he wants a day off, and she said, "Oh, is it for what reason's it for?" And he says it's for personal reasons. So she asks, "Oh, is it a funeral? Is it some affairs you have to put straight?" And he says, "No, I'm going for a blind date, it turns out." And she's intrigued, and she's very encouraging. At the same time, she's having a relationship with this young buff man and a pianist. He plays the piano a lot. There's a few other characters in it. There's Waldo Taft, who's played by James Reborn. There's a security guard who's very friendly. I saw driver and everything. Donald Patrick Harvey plays. The security guard doesn't have a name apart from that. So there's I found it quite. I mean, it was hilarious in a way, how Doris reacts, but it was, I thought, quite a beautiful relationship in a way, and I was intrigued about what place it was. I mean, they sound so refined. I almost thought they could be British in a English country house, but it turns out I mean, I knew it was America because of the headlines at the start and George Bush and all the other celebrities mentioned, but it's in the countryside of New Jersey, Somerset is the name of the place. And Doris had many other places, as we find out with the film, because she sometimes gets Bernard to accompany her on trips to California, to Beverly Hills, to Hawaii, and there's world travel to Southeast Asia. She goes to London, we don't get to see that, but her world travel, again, we don't get to see it, but she goes to Africa, to Morocco and other countries. There's various other things covered in the story, such as the orchids. She loves these plants, and especially when they flower. Fine wine, the building of trust. I mean, that matters so much to her. Loyalty, as such. And then as things become more intimate, and one of the other characters gets divisive, tries to divide them. This other person sows division, so there's suspicion as well. But to some extent, Bernard doesn't necessarily always help himself. He admits right at the start that he was an alcoholic, and Doris is a huge a large alcoholic as well. So there's lots of wine, there's lots of other drinks, sherry, loads of stuff, whole massive pantry or wine store cellar. And for a long time Bernard has restraint, but I'm not. it might not hold out. Let's say that. So, I mean, there has to be tension in a film, and you can tell that at some point the relationship might get strained, and then there's a question of can it recover? Well, I mean, there's scenes like there's this alcoholism. I mean, Doris drinks and she gets caught. I mean, it's Bernard who's driving at the start, but then she thinks that he's driving too slowly, so she asks him to swap. And of course, he doesn't. I mean, he occasionally challenges some of the things she asks him to do, but not until a lot later when she has trust in him. But at this point, he's agrees to swap the driving, and you can see her just swinging from a bottle of vodka or whiskey or something before driving, and she's going really fast, so she gets pulled over and has to be bailed out. So this is where the characters get involved. So there's an awful lot of things happening, and it was a wonderful film to watch. I mean, she obviously has a lot of privilege, and by dint of Bernard serving her, he had access to a lot of privilege as well. And I really enjoyed the acting. I thought I was interested in how the script played out. The poignancy of something happens when groceries. Gosh, that reminded me of once seeing someone collapse in Victoria Street in London after shopping. So they had a whole bag of Sainsbury's shopping quite a few years ago when there was Sainsbury's in Victoria. I don't think there is now. Oh, there is, but it's towards Pimlico. But I was just thinking, you can buy a load of shopping and suddenly collapse and never get used to that shopping. It's just one of those things that is a bit poignant about life, really. So anyway, there's tension towards the end, and especially when you've seen the exact first scene, which involves Bernard giving Doris putting a syringe into her arm, and you wonder about that. What's that going to be? Is that she's still moving her eyes, but is that something? Well, you'll find out if you watch this film. So, oh yeah, Premier Grand Cru. Gosh, that reminds me of the wine club I used to be involved in. And her Doris, when she finds out that he's been at that bottle and many others, she quips to the person who tells her, "Well, he has excellent taste." And when interviewed by the police, because someone dobs him in after trying to bribe him to leave, and there's that, and I suppose there's a gap between those scenes, but devotion beyond the call of duty is a quote that comes from that segment. I thought, wow, this is really fascinating, lovely story, and I'm going to score it 8.75 out of 10. It's really interesting, lovely acted, fascinating biopic with a certain amount of truth and some dramatisation, obviously. So I'd love to know what you think. Please like if you like this review. Please consider subscribing if you like these reviews, and leave comments if you've seen this film and have any thoughts. I'd love to see other points of view. Thanks for watching. Please hit the notification button. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.